Be'ezras Hashem, Erev Shabbos Kodesh, Parashat Bechukutai, Shnas Tov Shiur Pei Aleph. Generally, when a person walks, he walks to arrive to a certain place. He walks to go to the shop, he walks to go to work, he walks to go to shul, he walks in order to arrive somewhere. But sometimes a person can go to the Golan and he's walking along the banyas. And somebody else tell me, what's on the other side? Where are you walking to? What shop is over there? He says, there is no shop. So he says, what are you walking now for 5 hours? So you don't understand? The actual walking, that's a purpose. I'm not going to go to somewhere, but the walking, that's a goal. This is a geschmack, to walk along the banyas, to walk in nature, in Eretz Yisrael, along the Banyas River. It's a machaya. This is the inyan that it says in this week's Parashat, in Bechukutai, Toiling, you walk. Why? It says Rashi, what does it mean to walk? Says Rashi, it means to toil in the Torah. Because to keep the mitzvahs, it says in the Hemshech of the Parsha, Ves mitzvosai tishmeru. So what it means not only keeping the mitzvahs, but to toil in the Torah. Why is toil described in the Torah as teleichu, as walking? Because that's the idea. The toil one puts in the Torah is not just to bring to the outcome, the understanding. Of course, you have to understand in the end. But the actual toil is a purpose in its own. Those 5 hours that it took you to understand the Gemara, that alone are 5 hours of avodah, of toil, of omol. And only that way a person can matzliach in Torah. It's in a purpose in itself. And that's why he says, Bechukutai, Toiling, because the walking to the halacha, the walking to the understanding of the Gemara, that alone is a matorah, that alone is a joyful, that alone is a omol ha-Torah. Why is it so important, the inyan of omol ha-Torah, toil in Torah? Says the holy Ben Ish Chai in Parashat Chukas, a beautiful moshel. There was a man, a very wealthy man. He had fields as far as you can see. He had fields of crop, of fruits, of vegetations, kilometers and kilometers of field. And it came one day, he was on his deathbed, and he called his children and he said, my dear children, there is a treasure of wealth in the Tahala, in the canal. You know, canal, the fields, you have a river, the main river of the city. But then every person who owns field would dig a tahala, a canal all the way along the fields. And it goes for kilometers along, surrounding the perimeters of all the fields, and even cut through fields as well, to irrigate the field. So the father said that there's this great treasure of wealth in the tahala. So the children look at each other and say, oh, treasure, wealth. Psh. But father, the tahala is kilometers long. Where along the canal did you hide the treasure? And the father repeated his words, my dear children, there is a treasure of wealth in the canal. And then he died. Shuvak chaim lekol chai. So the children decided, we can't give the work of searching for the treasure to any worker. We ourselves are going to dig and search for the treasure hunting. So they split the canal, this one 50 kilometers, this one 50 kilometers. And they're digging and digging, like Shlomo HaMelech says, kematmoinim techbeseno, like searching for treasures. And they don't find anything. So they decide, listen, father probably didn't, if it's such a big treasure, he probably dug it very deep. We have to mamash dig, kumoshe tzarich, how we have to dig. And they dug deep, deep, deep along the whole canal, all the 50 kilometers, all around and around. And they came back, nothing. So they decided, enough is enough. Enough treasure hunting. We're going to leave the field for the workers, and we're going to back home and finish. At the end of the winter, the children get a knock on the door, and it's a sapak. And it's a supplier, a man who deals in fruits. And he says, how much are you offering for your fruits. And they said, I don't know, he said, name a price and we will buy it from you. And just he finished saying, another man comes and says, his price, I'll double his price. Say, 1 minute. What's our fruit so special? Let's go to the field and have a look and have a taste our fruit. See what's good. Let's know what we're selling at least. And they go into the fields and they see the fruits. They never saw such amazing fruits, big and lush, and they taste it. It tastes so sweet. And they look at each other and then they understand what the father said. Treasure of wealth is in the canal. Because generally, when people start the winter, how much do they dig along this canal? The first storm comes and there's already a blockage and the water can't go through and it can't irrigate the field as it should be. But because they dug so deep along the canals, the water came along the whole winter and supplied so much water to the fruits and crop that it growed irregular, beautiful fruits. And at least the neighbors' fruits were all normal, average. But their fruits were special. This is the idea, says the Holy Ben Ish Chai, of the Limud HaTorah, gewaldig. Says the Heilige Ben Ish Chai, a person opens a daf of Gemara and he starts to toil. He wants to find the treasure and understanding. And he doesn't. His understanding just isn't there. He's digging more. And the more he's searching for understanding, the more he doesn't understand. More questions. The more he's digging on more questions. A stira in the Gemara. A question on Rashi. A shvera Reb Chaim. And he's digging and digging. There's no treasure. And he's looking for a bit of an understanding on the Gemara, on the Daf. But then comes the water, the Ribono Shel Olam gives him a moiridik understanding. Oh, c'est gewaldig. That's pshat in the Rashi, this is pshat in the Rambam, the Tosfos, and the Maharsha. Everything is understood. And the fruits that come out of such toil are special fruits. The fruits over average, they're amazing. Why? Because he toiled, because he dug more and more and more till he understood the Gemara. That's why it says, Shetia Meilim B'Torah. That's why it's so important, the omol of the Torah, the more one is omol and toils in the Torah, the more the understanding of the Torah is gewaldig. This is an understanding of pshat in Bechukutai Telechu, why it's so in the inyan of omol HaTorah. And as it says, the Ohr HaChaim HaKodesh writes, Bechukutai is a loshon chokuk, it's engraved on your heart. When somebody toils in the Torah becomes engraved in his heart. It's like there's a moshel. I once heard Rabbi Yitzchak Zilberstein, Shlita. He says as follows. There was once a son, a very spoiled boy, very spoiled. Only thing he knew to do was to use his father's visa. In Ivrit they say, Legaetza visa shel Abba. This is what he knew to do. Legaetza visa. He wanted a new suit, here's a visa. He wanted to go on holiday, the visa. This is what he knew, a spoilt boy. And he came to his father and he said, my dear father, I'd like to now marry. His father said, you think you're going to now marry and build a home? And you're going to continue on my cheshbon, on my account? Put it on my father's account. You want to build a home, you have to show me that you're independent, you know to make money, and then we'll start thinking about marriage. Showing the boy, as we said, a real spoiled boy, where does he go? He goes to work? No way. He goes to his mother. And he says, Mother, my father wants me to go to work. His father, don't worry, Shefela, don't worry, she opens her wallet. Here's $1,000. At the end of the week on Friday, go to your father, say, look, you see I earned $1,000, and that's it. Showing what does a boy do the whole week? He goes to the beach, and he gets himself a tan, he comes to his father, he doesn't work, nothing. He comes to his father, he says, Father, you see I know how to work, I made $1,000 this week. Father takes $1,000 and rips it. Says, you think you're going to come to me with your lies that you worked? Go for real, go to work. And kicked the boy out the door. The boy went to his mother and said, how did he know? He's so clever. He said, but of course, what do you think? You come to him with such a tan, like you just come from a holiday, and you think your father believes that you worked? I'll tell you what, here's another $1,000. And now, on Friday morning, before you go to your father, go to the fields, walk around in the mud. And if you fall in the mud, it's even better. And then, it looked like you worked a bit. Showing that's what he did. He went to the fields and he fell in the mud and he's dirty. And he takes $1,000 his mother gave him and he comes back to his father. His father takes $1,000, says, again you're coming to me with these lies, and he rips it out. He comes to his mother and his mother says, I don't know, he's clever, but being a Novi, I didn't know he has prophecy. And my dear son, you want to get married, you have to go to work. Shani finds a job in the local fields. There they work. From Alot HaShacha, like they say in Ivrit, from Alot HaShacha at Tzet HaNeshama. They work from 5 o'clock in the morning. He's ready working. He said, you see this whole field? You have to plow this whole field. This is your job this week. And he's schlepping along. He looks at his clock, it's only 9 o'clock in the morning. And he has to go until 6 o'clock in the evening. He comes home. He can't even go up the stairs. He flops into bed. He wakes up the next morning, 4:30, 5 o'clock, he's continuing to work. Already on Wednesday, his back is killing, but he goes on, he knows Friday I'm getting paid. And it comes on Friday, he goes to the manager and he says, please, I've got to pay for $1,000. He says, yes, hey, very good work, $1,000. He looks at the field, amazing what he did. He can't believe it himself. He comes to his father. He says, Father, you see here, I got $1,000. His father's going to rip it. He said, don't rip it. I worked so hard for it. Please, anything. I won't get married. Nothing. Leave me. But give me back my money. Father says, now I believe you. Now I believe that you worked for your money. Because you can't see it go. You can't see it. But the other times, I ripped your dollars. You didn't even blink. What would you care? Rip the dollars. About me, give me more dollars. You didn't work for it. It didn't mean anything to you. But when you work for something, it becomes part of you. It's precious. And that's Saideh. Bechukutai teleru, says Rabbi. The Torah becomes a part of you. Imagine you could just learn. Hashem created a person so sophisticated. He couldn't have made a USB port over here. Could have done a USB, all the Tariag mitzvahs here, download, and that's it. Couldn't have done that. Such a sophisticated Hashem created us. Or would have been a USB port. But no, the Ribono Shel Olam wants us the Omo. The Omo, because if so, just to download the Torah, yeah. It got deleted. Big deal, I'll get another. I'll take something else. He doesn't have a feeling to the Torah. But because a person learns a Gemara, one daf and another daf, and he takes his time, he can then, by the siyum, you see people by siyum Masechet, they take the Gemara and they take it like jewels, and they're dancing with the Gemara. You know why? Because it's so precious, because there was so much toil, because there was so much effort. That's why Rabbi Yitzchak Berditchev, the Heilige Sanegor of Am Yisrael, the defender of Am Yisrael, you know, when they say about Rabbi Yitzchak Berditchev, when he went to shul and he saw somebody putting oil on the wheel of his wagon, and they asked, and so somebody said, you see what's going on? He's putting oil on the wheel of the wagon, he's wearing his talis and a tefillin, as they kicked the souls. What is this? Rabbi Yitzchak turned to Shomayim and said, Ribono Shel Olam Avinu Shebashomayim. Mikam Cho Yisrael. Even when they are oiling the wheel of the wagon, they're doing it b'kedusha v'tahara, with such holiness of a talis and a tefillin. Everything he saw schus. And one day they came to Rabbi Yitzchak Berditchev and they said, in our Beis Medrash, we're doing a shiur Masechet. I would like to invite the Heilige Rabbi Yitzchak to come to join the shiur. I believe Yitzchak asked, are you going to be making a Suda? He said, yes. A basari, a Suda basari, a meat. He says, yes. So, and everyone was wondering, what was so important to Rabbi Yitzchak, that it should be a Suda basari, real covered Torah for the shiur Masechet. But Rabbi Yitzchak, when he came to the shiur, he got up to speak and he said, you may have wondered why it was so important for me to ask why you are what Suda you're making, what meal you're making to celebrate the shiur Masechet. And I'd like to explain to you why it's so important to me. Because in Shomayim, the Yetzer Hara was mekatreg of Am Yisrael. The Yetzer Hara said, look how many Averos Am Yisrael did. We have to punish Am Yisrael. So they called the Sanigor of Am Yisrael, the defender of Am Yisrael, to come and to defend Am Yisrael. And he said, well, what can I say? No, there, it's like the lawyers in this world, you can say what you want. Over there, you can see all the Averos is all written. But nevertheless, Rabbi Yitzchak said, Ribono shel olam, they may be doing many Averos, but they don't do it besimcha. But the mitzvah said they do with simcha, with happiness, with gladness. So the Yetzer Hara started to laugh. He started, you're telling me they don't do Averos besimcha. You didn't see how that group over there spoke Lashon Hara. Such a commotion, such a Lashon Hara, such a delight. And you're telling me they don't take delight when they do Averos? Said the Heilige Reb Levi Yitzchok mi Baditchev. He said as follows, Ribono shel olam. Isn't it true that every Masechet has a certain amount of dafim? Let's say there's 20 dafim in a Masechet. The Torah as well has 20 dafim in his Masechet. This again, but what's written by him? Every daf, why this stuff you don't have to learn. This stuff, I wasn't feeling good. This stuff, I had the bar mitzvah. This stuff, I had the chasana. This stuff, I had to recover from all the simchas. Every daf is dua teret. But the Yidden, they toil and they persevere to finish the Masechet. And they learn through the whole Masechet. What do they do afterwards? In Ivrit they say, Potchim Shulchan. They make a Suda, Basari, Simcha Shemitzvah, they dance with the Gemara. It's so precious to them. Im Yetenishes Choloin Beise Be'avo, Boys Yavuzuloi. That means that the Masechet is so precious. Somebody would say, I'm sorry, I didn't come to the shiur of this Masechet. How much do you offer me? $50,000? Like this, I have a Masechet. I come to Olam Emes, I have a Masechet. Will a Yid sell it? How much would the Yid sell him and say he learned for? All the Olam Habo. A Yid doesn't say he's so precious, he's so connected, this is my Masechet. But I've never seen a Yid, says only Reb Levi Yitzchok Baditchev. I've never seen a Yid that was Mechalel Shabbos. And on Motzei Shabbos he says, wow, we were Mechalel Shabbos. Let's now celebrate and make a Suda. Never ever. I've never seen a Yid that said Lashon Hara. Wow, such a Lashon Hara. Let's make a L'chaim. Never. There's always a conscience a Yid feels. This wasn't good. I have to improve. I have to be better. This is what Rabbi Levi Yitzchok Baditchev said. Am Yisrael may do avei, but how much do they regret? How much you want to become better? But the mitzvah may be difficult. But how do they appreciate the mitzvahs? The toil in Bechukutai Toiling. How much we learn in the Torah. This is gewaldig. So now we learn Baruch Hashem. Bechukutai Toiling is described. Toil of the Torah is described as walking. Because as we said, it's not just walking to get to a destination, it's the walking itself, like a hike in the Golan. And then we continue to explain that this is the inyan of, like the son, the Ben Gevir, the son of the Oisher, that he just knew how to take the visa of his father, and he spent, but he didn't feel the connection to the Torah. But a person who toiled for the Torah, he worked for his money, he couldn't see his father ripping up the money. And then we said, the Ben Ish Chai, the more one toils, why is it so important to toil? Because like digging that canal, the more you dig, the deeper you dig, the better the understanding. the better appreciation of the Gemara, the more one's connected to the Gemara. And like the Orach Chaim said, Bechukutai, is choku kalibecho. And there we are with Rabbi Yitzchak Baditchev says that after the toil, a person comes home. He's the most connected to this Gemara. Thank you very much for listening. May you be zeicha Shabbos Shulam Emavorach.